So, hi everyone. Thank you for being here after lunch. I know it's hard. Probably some of you are going to get sleepy. Hope it's going to be interesting enough. So, my name is Diego. I work at Yahoo as a front-end engineer. You can get the slide from there. Sorry for the blue link. It's fedil.info/HTML5. So, first of all, I'm from Spain. Yeah, we're doing bad in politics, but we won football, so at least we have something. Everyone has a little history, so that's mine. So what we're going to talk about today is how we, at Yahoo, how we scale. I work at a search platform. I know we're not as big as Google, but we still have a bunch of 100 million users to fulfill. So more than performance, today I'm going to talk to you about how we can scale in terms of software development. Because as you know, probably Yahoo has Yahoo.com, it has news.yahoo.com, video.yahoo.com, image.yahoo.com. So the problem with that is that we are such a huge level company scaling that we need to support a bunch of browsers and we need to support a bunch of devices. And the problem we're having right now, we're having until a couple of months ago, is that for scaling, like writing the lifecycle application testing, we're going to see all of that in a minute. It was really painful. So the question is, what are we going to scale today? So we're going to scale the whole process of development, which means that we're going to see what are the new technologies we're going to use for the first beginning of implementing an application, how we can test it, how we can share the code across multiple teams and multiple apps, and how we're going to do in a really simple way all this process, helping us with the tool, with the Cocktails framework, with Mojito. So it's not about just doing it, but it's doing it fast, because as you probably know, the market is evolving really, really fast, and if we don't do that, we're going to be more behind all the others so far. So that's what we have so far. Yahoo is a PHP stack. It's a reliable but old technology. So I'm not saying that PHP is bad. It's just saying that right now for us it doesn't scale as well as we're going to see in a while. So the problem we're having right now with PHP are we have a bunch of legacy code. We have an SVN, plenty of code like for 3 or 4 years old, even more. We have, as I told you before, we have a lot of verticals, right? We have news.yahoo.com, video.yahoo.com, and all of these teams have to replicate over and over the same platform. So I work on the platform team, which means that we provide the architecture and the tools for other teams to be able to do this fast. And the problem is right now, they cannot do this fast. We don't have almost any unit tests, and the reason for that is because we have to iterate, and a team in China has to fork our SVN and do his own thing. And basically, we cannot afford to have unit tests and also functional tests. Another thing we're having is the problem when in PHP you want to support all the devices, right? Let's say I want to support iPhone. So what we do right now is we have to create a different entry point. PHP out of the box doesn't provide us the way to say, all right, I'm just going to support my web page on an iPhone. So what I have to do, I have to create a new CSS probably, some little logic for some fancy features there. So right now, the way we do it, it doesn't scale, and the reason is because we are really slow. We cannot produce as many features and as many things we want. Then also have an overhead on the front end, which means that PHP is not the most amazing, fastest server side for what we do at Yahoo. And what we do at Yahoo is basically we have our backend. We basically have all the logic for ads and basically tell us how to display information, where to display it. And what we do on the front end is just take that information and we get a request, we go to the server, we got a response back, and we just have to display it. So we need to be really fast, and we need to be. So that's one of the main reasons, the overhead of front end, among the others, that we decided to go to the powerful and amazing Node.js, right? I probably know most of you are aware with Node.js. It's a server-side JavaScript server on top of V8 that Google created years ago. So we use Node.js. One of the reasons is because we have a lot of media that we have to, basically the user is going to read our content from, and we need to be really fast, and we can handle a lot more connections. I can talk about performance a little bit at the end of the talk, but also for fulfill all the parameters we saw before, it's just not enough, right? So we need to build something on top that allows us to do all this deployment really quickly to multiple devices, multiple markets, multiple languages, and so on and so forth. So that's why we came up with Cocktails. So Cocktails, in a sentence, to summarize, is like an umbrella, a platform for developing mobile applications. Different little products that, one is in charge of doing the presentation layer, like we're going to see before Mojito, and another one is for the deployment. So it's a set of tools that allow us to do all this development cycle really, really fast, and we can share code and iterate really fast. And we're going to see how. So the main piece is Mojito, right? So this is open source. You can just check it out. There's a lot of little tools, package manager, and some of the things that are specific for Yahoo or we have internally. But I'm going to provide you, if those are not open source, I'm going to provide you a simple and similar way to do things. Basically, you're going to see that everything I'm going to talk today, you're going to be able to reproduce it in your company and your project. So Mojito is open source on GitHub. Feel free to fork it, issue, or do anything with it. It's for you guys. So, how many of you heard about Mojito before? I was expecting less. That's fine. So, how many of you heard about Meteor before? And about Derby? Okay, that's fine. So, my intention in this talk is not showing which are the difference or which framework is better or not. I think as a developers, we should be pragmatic and be able to choose the tool which is more suitable for us. So the purpose of my talk is show you guys Mojito, show how it works, and maybe it's suitable for you or for your application. So as a good Spaniard, I'm going to do an analogy with this. How many of you know what is this? Okay, it's better than Mojito. Okay, so for the one of you who don't know what it is, this is a jamón serrano. Ringing a bell? Nothing? So this is a curry jam. And it's really famous in Spain. So the analogy here will be, hey guys, if you don't know that, just give it a try. So I got a little surprise. I brought from Spain illegally in my plane some jamón. So if you guys, after the talk, still want some dessert, there is some really Spanish jamón here. I couldn't bring mojitos, but All right. So what is Mojito? Mojito is an MVC framework. And because it's on Node.js, everything is in JavaScript. Allow us to write the application itself, right? So what are the key features of Mojito? First of all, because of the Node.js, we have one language to run them on, which means that we can write JavaScript on the server and on the client, which you guys already know that, right? I'm not getting anything new. But if we can combine that with another really amazing feature, I think it's one of the most key features of Mojito, is that we have two runtimes. We have the client side and the server side. And the most amazing feature of Mojito is that we can basically execute the same code in both places. So Mojito allows us as developers to decide on runtime whether we want to run our code on the client or on the server. Let's say I have my server saturated and I cannot handle more connection. I can say, you know what, just send it to the client. Let the client handle everything for me. Or I have a really low bandwidth and I'm on an iPhone, loads everywhere, somewhere else. And then I'm just going to ship everything to the client because I know that the connection is going to be really reliable. So basically the point is that we can share a code, and we're going to see how and all the reasons exactly behind that in a while in a demo I have prepared. Another key feature is how easy it is to create, let's say, an entry point or create our app to make it fulfill or work in other devices. So with Mojito, out of the box, we have a really, really simple way to do that. Just drop in a file or drop in a view somewhere and everything will work. We're going to see also how. And another good thing is how we can handle and create our app for multiple localization and in multiple languages. Because, for example, as in Yahoo, we need that. It's a key feature for us. We need to serve the same content all around the globe in different languages. So that's more or less clear. Let me explain so this Cocktails and Mojito, the Mojito itself came for a naming of mixing. On the client, we have this kind of widget, which is kind of a scroll view or this kind of element, which is kind of interactive, right? But on the server side, we have kind of this module, which is kind of an API isolated part where we can just call to create some functionality, right? So a Mojito, we kind of merge both things together. So think on a Mojito as a self-contained, isolated part of the page. To give you an example, this is the new search page, right? So as you can see on the top, we have this search box, which can be, I can show you pretty quick. So we have here Yahoo verticals, how we call. So for example, here we have this scroll view, right? So we have this search box on the top, and also if we go to oh my god, we have the same scroll view, same search box, sorry, the same thing. So what would be amazing if we could share across the company all these components that most likely are going to be the same, right? So that's what a module most likely is, right? So a module is a little part, isolated part of the page, which is self-contained. It's his own model view controller, has his own assets, has his own, all his logic on its own. So it's not sharing anything with others. I mean, you can do some communication, but with that, you are able to basically take your parts of the page, put it in somewhere where any other part of the team or any other person even outside the company can benefit for the modules you create. It's kind of a little inner world, or yeah. So you can create in your application these little modules and gonna see what is the benefit from that and how we start from there, building and scaling as I promised you on first. So I'm gonna do a little demo. Feel free to this on GitHub. It's in my GitHub account until Training Mojito, lesson 1, and you can also find it on Heroku. Really simple. What this app is gonna do is one module, one simple module, as I showed you before. And what we're gonna do basically is call an API to get the weather given our location. And we're gonna get, given this location, we're gonna get some tweets from it. Nothing really complicated, right? So you may expect that, as I showed you before, this is the normal workflow we're gonna expect from a client-side application, right? We have our client, which basically is gonna fetch from the server, say, hey, I need the weather for this longitude and latitude. So the server is gonna go to any third-party server, right, and fetch the data. So that's the normal workflow. So let's see how this works with the demo. So I'm gonna start Mojito. It's really simple. Mojito start. It's gonna start the server for me, and localhost 8666. Don't worry too much about the resources right now. So it's really simple. What I'm gonna do is what I showed you before. I'm gonna click here, and what's gonna happen is I'm gonna do a specialized request, which is a tunnel. It's a special Mojito. And basically here, I'm calling the server and say, you know what, I need the weather for this location. We're sending here the latitude and the longitude, right? So on our server side, what we're doing is calling some third-party server-side API. For example, right now we're hitting YQL, and we're retrieving the data from the server, from our server, which already make a request for a third party, right? And if we do show tweets, let me remove that really quick, we're gonna do the same thing, right? We're gonna go to our server, and the server is going to go against Twitter, and we're going to render the results. In this case, we're putting the render view on the client, but don't worry about that. So that's the normal workflow. But what if tomorrow I have my server really, like, for example, hitting the CPU bound, I cannot handle more connections. What if I can just do this without changing one line of code? What if I just can say, all right, server, on the first flash, when I do the get, give me all the resources I need. And once I have that, without changing any line of code, I can say to my controller, by the way, where I have the logic, go to the client, so the server is no longer needed, and I'm gonna do exactly the same logic, but bypassing the server. What if we could do that? What could that be if I could do that? So let's do that really quick. So this is the Mojito app. I'm not going to go over the code, but as you can see here, I have my controller and a couple of models. That's the ones I use, and I'm using Twitter and YQL. And as you can see here, there's like a file name saying server, which for Mojito means, hey, by the way, this thing executes on the server side. So when you ask for some action on that controller, you have to use the tunnel, right? But as simple as just renaming this file to common and say, you know what? This piece of code can run either on the server or on the client. I'm not saying that you have to do that always, but you have the flexibility to choose on runtime or for every request what you want to do, right? So just renaming all the components. And as simple as that, I'm going to start my application, start it again. Let's see how it goes. Let's run the application again. So when I click here, what's going to happen is Mojito say, all right, I have this controller common, and basically like this guy wants to run on the client. So we can either do that right now on lazy loading time, what it's going to do now, or we can just prefetch it. We can do the server ahead of time can send it out. So look at what's going to happen. What's going to happen is that Mojito is going to know that this piece of code has to run on the client, And as you can see here, now the call for the third party is happening on the client. So let's do that again. So now the tweet, calling the API of Twitter is no longer going to the server, it's just doing on the client itself. You see, right now we are just fetching the client side. We're fetching the Twitter API without going to the server. And we just did that without changing any single line of code. Imagine how powerful could be this if we can do the same thing for multiple devices, multiple dimensions, and so on and so forth. So that's one of the key features. Another key features is how we can basically serve the same page or allow and support multiple devices, right? So let me go back really quick to the code. In Mojito, it's as simple as dropping a new file. In this case, you can see this index.iphone.move. So basically I'm saying, you know what, this view, when you get the user request, and when you see that the user agent belongs to an iPhone, what I'm going to do is just pick this view instead. So basically what's going to happen is when I get the page back, Mojito is going to know that this is an iPhone. It's going to serve this view instead of this other view. As simple as changing the name of the file. Right now the move means mustache template, which means that we're using mustache for rendering either on the client or on the server. We can have handlebars, for example. We do support handlebars already. So there's no more crazy logic for entry points. There's no more crazy, as simple as creating, and the same applies for any piece of code. If I want to create a controller specific for a device, I can do that. And not only that, but you can customize your, let's say that I just want to serve a different CSS or different assets when I'm in China in an iPhone and I'm in a packet, within a testing environment. We can do that as well. We can define our own selector, and in a middleware, like before the request arrives, we can say, all right, for this user agent and for this cookie of this person, I'm going to send these different contexts of the page. And Mojito already going to do all of that for you. So that's for the application part, right? So let's say that we already built our application. The problem now is we still have the need of being able to iterate really fast. We have to test our application, we have to deploy in different languages, we have to test that we didn't break anything. So how we're going to do that is we can integrate Mojito with any CI. The reason why is Mojito out of the box provides you the tools for doing that. For right now, what we do actually in the Mojito itself, we got Travis hooked up on the GitHub. So once we create a new pull request or a new code is going to the Git, automatically we run the CI and we run the Mojito test and the Mojito features I'm going to talk to you right now to make sure that everything works. So out of the box, Mojito provides us all these things to make sure that our code is well written, well tested, and basically Mojito Shake is for getting ready to production. It's minimize all the files, all these dependencies, and make sure that you only get the minimum amount of content you need, either in CSS and JavaScript. So let me do an example really quick. For example, we can do something like Mojito test app. What we're going to see here, Mojito has integrated itself YUI test, which basically I can just build tests for my modules. In this case, I have this little conversion thing here, where it allows me to convert temperature back and forth. So I can write really quick a test for that. It's a normal YUI test, nothing else, all within Mojito without having to swap any other tool. And basically we can check here if we're doing things right. In this case, I just mistook on purpose some values, right? So we're seeing here that it's failing, right? So we broke something, we should not be able to commit, or we should get another. The same thing, we can just do Mojito.js links up, and basically it's going to tell us, well, that's because I'm doing the Mojito, but if we do Mojito test, Mojito.js links, Mojito's weather, -p, Mojito. It's going to tell us where the JS lint errors are. For example, I have a missing space between comma and render view. So that's provide us a good way to measure before committing anything to the SVN that our code passes a set of standards, and so people don't get mad at us because we just commit crappy code, or at least non-standard code. So let's back to the presentation again. Mojito test, I already talked about that. So Mojito Shake, I'm going to do a quick demo. As you can see here, you may going to say, but I'm seeing that Mojito, let me start the server really quick. Mojito start. we go. So as you can see here, we are putting a bunch of dependencies, right, that Mojito needs for running either on the client or on the server. So what Shaker does is basically get your app production ready. It takes the CSS you need and the JavaScript you need, no matter which dimension, no matter which device, and it's going to only send the pieces that you need. So let's see that this works. Mojito shake. We're going to do in a stage. Basically what we're going to say is, like, I'm going to roll up, minify all the dependencies and create the rollups you need, so in runtime, in a constant time, we just get the only little resources we need. So I'm gonna run that, Shake is gonna do his thing, and look at the resources now. Instead of having a bunch of things, they reduce the amount of CSS, we minify them, we compress it, and everything is automated. So right now, every single time we put a new build on, or we commit something to the SVN, our CI tool can do all of this ahead of time for us. And if something goes wrong, so we can say, hey, your commit you just did, it doesn't pass a test, or it doesn't have a GSLint, which basically allow us to minimize the errors on production. That was the demo, basically. So more than that, we still need the problem of sharing code, right? So because of the modules, it's this isolated MVC part of the page. We can just say, you know what, I'm going to patch that in a little package, in an NPM package, or just in a separate package, and put it in somewhere where other developer can reuse it, right? So Mojito allows you also to use NPM packages out of the box to do that. So how we do that? In Yahoo, we have an internal registry, a simple internal that anyone can create his own NPM registry, a package manager. NPM stands for Node Package Manager, for the one you don't know. So you can create a package for your module and say, you know what, send it to this global registry for the company so any other team can use it. So remember the search box, for example. We can just package that search box, which is going to be common for every property in the company. And instead of having to rebuild it again, I just have to go to my package.json, which is the, where you define your dependencies and put there the package you need. Mojito will pick that already, and the only thing you have to do in your code is put some configuration to say where you want to display this module. That's the beauty of sharing code. The problem we still with that is that you're going to have this shared module, but you know what? I'm in another team, and I don't like this developer because I always have to fix his code and all that. So how we can enforce that the quality of all the packages we send to this registry are good as well? So if we can do that at an app level, why we cannot do the same thing at module level, right? So the developer is going to say, I don't want to use your code, at least on first, right? I did some many times. And also the problem with that is, as probably you know, one of the problems with Node.js is the anonymous function. How many people here was like one day debugging some anonymous function callback trace? No one? I was the only one? All right, lucky you. So debugging anonymous function is really painful. I can tell you, it's true. So because we don't want to do this debugging, and we want to keep always our code of our modules, our global NPM packages there in a good quality, what we can do basically is doing the same thing we do for our apps. Do it at a module level. We want to be able, so basically every time we modify something in our package, and our little module, doesn't have to be in the app, has to be in a little module, we can run the same CI, enforcing us to get a certain coverage on the unit test, make sure that every test passes, and make sure that there's no CSS lint errors or JSLint error. So in that way, when everything goes and passes, I can be sure that the package I just putting on the register that all the company can use is kind of good quality code, right? And basically any other people on the company can reuse the same thing. That's how we started scaling. That's how we can basically really fast starting to with Mojito, we can basically create the application for multiple devices and running without having to write the logic twice. We just have to ship it between the client and the server really easily. And now we have this package where allows us to share code really simple. And for us at Yahoo, this was one of our priorities. It may be going to be suitable for you as well. You can use either internal packages or published packages. That's a normal NPM install. So Mojito will basically recognize if there's modules specific for the application, or there's regular NPM package. Let's say they want to use a third-party library. Let's say they want to use Backbone, for example, for one of our models. We eventually will do that if we want. Another thing is deploying to the cloud. So as the last step, our CI tool tool, or in this case Travis, or whatever you guys have on CI for your company, you can basically, as a last step, when everything goes well, we just can push to the cloud, right? So in Yahoo, we have our own cloud right now. It's not open source yet. It might be in the future. We don't know. But if you are a normal developer on your own company, you can use any other Node.js standard third party to upload your Mojito application. For example, Node.js and Heroku, it might be suitable for you. The only catch here, for example, I know that Meteor has this process out of the box. You can just press a button and deploy it to these platforms. We don't do that yet. We're working on that. Now it's a manual process. Once you have your CI and everything is working, you have to manually, I mean, I can give you a script to do that, or I can build a script really easily to do that, but basically there's no way out of the box on Mojito right now to do that automatically. That's the only catch, and we're working for that. So the only thing I have left is, what about performance? I had a couple of slides with a bunch of metrics and a bunch of slides on how our apps perform. How is better for us Node.js than PHP? So at the end of the day, I thought that it's going to be easier if I just tell you what our experience, because I think every single person or every single developer we may have different use cases. So if I can show you that our apps perform as twice as better as PHP, and we can handle as twice connections and with half of the hardware, and will be true. But this is because for us, that's the way we work is that we have all the backend calls, right, in another server. What we only do in the front end is dispatching connection really as fast as we can. We just send the request to our server, to our backend, which are really fast. As soon as we get the answer, we get right away, we flash right away the request on the client. So if you are planning to compute Fibonacci on the server side, probably Node.js is not the suitable tool for you, right? But if you have application which you need basically to read content only, or you have to flash to the server side in 20 milliseconds, 5 milliseconds, probably Node.js is going to be a good tool with you. And maybe with Mojito can also make interesting point on your application. So I think that's what I have today. My message is just, you guys try it out. It's getting stable. Mojito is really, right now, we're using it in production in search. I can show you if you want after search running with Mojito. It's performing pretty well. And also it's working in not almost, every single device. And that's even i6. We have to create a lot of CSS for that's for sure, but we can package that together using the tool we saw before. So just, the slides are in my personal webpage. You have the Mojito repo on GitHub. You have the training I did with a colleague of mine at Yahoo, and you have also a video tutorial where you can ramp up. So my last thing is going to be, Mojito is a bit complicated to ramp up, but as soon as you ramp up in a couple of days, it's going to be really faster for if you want to tackle a lot of devices and a lot of languages and all that, as we saw in this talk. So remember to try it out. Son Jamon I have here, and I'm gonna be on the Yahoo stand if you guys have any questions or you want to try it out, or you want me to put any demo, or we have here also the super PM of Mojito if you want to ask him some questions as well. So feel free to come by, take Son Jamon, and try Mojito. Thank you.